Welcome to the Touch MBA Admissions Podcast. Do you need help figuring out which schools to apply to or how to get into the world's top MBA programs? Hey, you're not alone. Join thousands of others on this podcast and on our site, touchmba.com, as they seek the admissions edge. And now, here's your host, Darren Joe.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Touch MBA podcast. This is going to be episode number 195. We are inching towards 200. Can you believe it? I'm your host, Darren. I'm a former MBA Admissions Director. And what we do on the show, what we have been doing on the show for over 10 years now, is trying to help you find your best fit MBA programs. And then once you shortlist those schools, help you get in. How do we do this? We do this by interviewing admissions directors from the world's top ranked B schools. We interview successful students and alumni that have moved into their desired careers to give you the inside track on how they did it. And so we just hope to lift the curtain on this whole obscure, hard to understand, hard to decipher MBA application and admissions process so you can further your career and make the best MBA investment. So today, for this episode, what I'd like to do is really go back to the roots of what Touch MBA is all about. And that is trying to make the school selection process easier. In fact, one listener who came to our site for free school selection help, again, that's at touchmba.com, she wrote, "The most frustrating part I have found is the vast amount of information about schools, applications, and chances that is out there. It's been hard to sift through all the noise and really figure out what schools are a good fit for you and what your actual chances are." So I wrote this piece, and this piece was titled, not entitled, "How to Choose the Right MBA Programs for You. Follow these 4 steps to find the right business schools." And I wrote this over 5 years ago. At the time, I believe we had seen a few thousand applicants come to use our free school selection service at touchmba.com. And so I wanted to share what we had learned and also, my strong view on how to go about shortlisting schools. And I tried to make this as simple as possible with 4 steps. So that's what I'd like to cover today. This episode is going to be a bit longer, but for those of you who stick with this, I think it will really help you this fall or whenever you're applying to your MBA programs. Pick the right 3 to 6 programs that really fit your interests, what you want to get out of an MBA, what you want to do in your career, and find programs that you really gel with, that the energy is right for you, that it's a good fit for you. All right, so let's get straight to this week's episode. We've helped over 3,500 MBA applicants from 50 countries shortlist MBA programs, and we hear comments like the one I read earlier in the show all the time. How can you sift through all the noise and really figure out what schools are good for you and what your actual chances are? So what I'd like to do with today's episode is ask you this question. What if you could figure out MBA programs you're excited about and competitive at, that would be a great investment in your future, and to do this with the least time and effort? I'm a former MBA Admissions Director who has thought about this problem, how to make school selection easier, for the past 10 years. I've also observed where applicants end up applying and attending. Why? So I could cut out any part of the research and selection process that has no utility. In other words, to save you time. I would like to share with you the 4-step method that I believe is most effective for shortlisting best fit MBA programs. The best part of this method, it will give you the best chance of getting in too. But first, let's talk about the rankings. All right, the rankings, the good, the bad, and the ugly. The quickest way to choose business schools is to use MBA Rankings. The philosophy is simple. Apply to the highest ranked MBA programs you're competitive at. This takes the least time, as number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5, number 10 are already determined. The rankings make it easy for you. So what's the good part about rankings? Applying to top-ranked schools offers a safe proxy for value, from the quality of education to the network to the career opportunities. Top-ranked schools get the most applicants each year and tend to be the most selective. So your peers are likely to have attended top schools for university, worked for top companies, and achieved top marks in whatever they do. You're guaranteed a distinguished alumni network. Most top-ranked schools have long histories, as well as recruiters in traditional MBA industries. Brand names like Harvard, Stanford, and Wharton are known in business circles worldwide. And your long-term return on investment is strong, as graduates from the top schools command the highest average salaries. All right, what's the bad part about rankings? In short, you're using someone else's criteria of what makes a top business school to make a huge life decision. If those external criteria that these ranking services use don't match yours, you could end up in the wrong place. And as rankings are the default method for thousands and thousands of applicants to choose schools, you're competing with more applicants. So it's actually harder to stand out and win scholarships. For example, the M7, quote unquote, M7 schools, Harvard, Stanford, Wharton, Columbia, Chicago, Northwestern, and MIT, received around 48,000 applications last year in 2021, while the next 25 top-ranked U.S. business schools also received 48,000 applications. Harvard and Stanford alone got around 17,000 applications for roughly 1,400 seats. What's the ugly part of rankings? Most applicants who rely on rankings say stuff like this. At the considering the MBA stage, their question is, which are the top-ranked schools? When they're in the applying stage, they ask, well, which top-ranked schools can I get into? Then, if they're qualified or lucky or a combination of both, and they get into these top-ranked schools, their question is, well, I got into school X and school Y, but where should I go? Help. You see these posts all the time on popular forums. And then, unfortunately, sometimes after they graduate from the program, you see comments like, as someone who had an alternative career path, the Career Center was pretty much worthless. I highly recommend looking beyond the name and prestige to the actual experience. That's a real quote that I pulled from GMAT Club. So we see comments like this all the time, especially in popular MBA forums, and you might hear them as well from your professional and personal networks. So do you see the problem with blindly using rankings? First, it limits your MBA school universe. Second, instead of starting with the most important question, which is, what's important to me? Your mindset is, how can I jump over the fence? Right? Ranking motivated applicants generally do less self-reflection, which results in less research and weaker generic applications. Finally, even if you do get in, chances are higher that you'll be caught off guard by your MBA experience, whether because you lack clear direction or had different expectations for what a top-ranked school should be. So that's why I recommend the following process to set your compass. Yes, it requires more time, but the benefits are more options, stronger applications, and a better chance of making the right MBA investment. So what's the first step? Step 1, reflect on your A, B, and C. Think of your journey as A plus B equals C. Find a quiet place and reflect on A, where you are now, and C, where you want to go. Meditate on this for 1 hour or even 1 week if you have to. Yes, this self-reflection is hard. I encourage you to think about this both professionally and personally. Professionally, What industry, function, and geography are you in now? What industries, functions, and geographies do you want to work in the future? And for your long-term career vision, I think it's most helpful to think about what causes or groups of people matter most to you, and what people, places, and things fascinate you. Personally, what do you want to be, do, and have? Or be more of, do more of, and have more of? Okay. So once you've outlined your A and your C, then you must think about B, what you need to do to get from A to C. And B is usually some combination of skills, knowledge, contacts, and experiences. So I have this diagram on our website at touchmba.com. If you click on guides, you'll see a thumbnail there about how to choose the right MBA programs for you. So you can find this all in written form if you prefer to read it. So after doing this A plus B equals C exercise, you may realize that there are other ways besides an MBA that can get you from A to C. So even though at Touch MBA, we're a site that helps MBA applicants make the right MBA investment, I don't think an MBA is right for everyone. And I tell people this all the time. There's a lot more options, especially today, that might fit in that B slot, right? That might give you the skills, knowledge, contacts, and experiences to get to C, where you want to be. So this is why this first step is so important, because maybe you can identify some other bridges that will take you from A to C. Or you might realize that getting an MBA is the only way to get to C. All right, step 2, determine your must-haves. You've determined an MBA could really help you. You have personal and professional reasons for making the investment. Now, what are your must-haves for your MBA program? Not, oh, that would be nice to have, or that would be cool to have, but your absolute non-negotiable, deal-breaking must-haves. Okay? This could be one must-have. This could be two must-haves, or maybe sometimes 3. Does this sound like you're looking for a life partner? You are. All right. Below, you can find the most common decision-making criteria for MBA applicants. Pick the 3 to 5 most important to you and list them in order of priority. So I actually have 20 criteria listed, but over 10 years, I want to share with you the 13 criteria we found that MBA applicants care most about. So we're going to shorten this list of decision-making criteria, and I want you to rank your top 3 to 5. Okay, what are those criteria? Location, ranking, program length, start date, top ranked specializations, class size, the campus setting, the faculty, especially the student rating of the faculty, your salary 3 years post-MBA, the employment rate within 3 months, your return on investment, student rating of career services, and student rating of alumni. So these are the 13 criteria we have available at touchmba.com. If you come to us and get that free school selection help, what we force you to do on our site is choose your top 3 to 5 criteria. That way we can help you identify which programs are the strongest based on your criteria, right? Not on US News and World Report, not on Poets and Quants, not on Financial Times. Do we draw data from all these wonderful ranking sites that labor to get all this data? Of course, but we want to give you the choice. What are your must-haves? And then we'll send back to you, which schools match those must-haves. So this will be different for everyone and explains why MBA graduates from top-ranked schools still gripe about their experience. Their criteria did not match their rankings criteria. So again, our team uses ranking data from the Financial Times, U.S. News and World Report, The Economist, Forbes, Bloomberg Businessweek, and Web Research. And I just shared with you the 13 top criteria that we've learned over the years applicants care most about. Even if you think only 1 to 2 schools fit you, look into at least 7 programs. It's important at this stage to widen your options. While researching, you'll uncover information and discover other interesting schools. Now, rate your schools from 1 to 10. Okay, 1 is weak, 10 is strong across your must-have criteria. And give your most important criteria the most weight, and your least important criteria the least weight. Maybe your number 1 criteria, which is ranking, could have a weight of 5, right? Let's say your 5th most important criteria, which may be the alumni network, let's give that a weight of 1, right? So you can analyze your universe of shortlisted schools based on your top 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 criteria, and then add up those points. This is what's called a decision matrix. You might realize that one school that you actually haven't been paying much attention to is actually the best fit according to your criteria. So which schools scored the highest? And while your assessment of schools may be subjective, you're at least during this stage using cold hard logic to see which schools score highest for your most important criteria. The results may surprise you. All right, so you have your universe of schools. Now, for step 3, evaluate your competitiveness. It's one thing to say, okay, I'm interested in these 5 schools, but are you competitive there? Here we go. So now after all that hard work, figuring out your direction, your must-haves, and widening your school list, you can consider your competitiveness. Here's a simple framework to think about your competitiveness. All right. Think of your profile along 3 dimensions. Dimension 1, academic. Evidence of your academic aptitude. Okay. Dimension 2, career. Evidence of your career impact, progress, and direction. And then dimension 3, your ambassadorial potentials, or evidence of your leadership, teamwork, and interests. Then imagine a scale, a 5-point scale for each of these 3 dimensions that ranges from outstanding, strong, solid, average, to weak. For example, if your GMAT falls below a school's 80% GMAT range, you are weak for that subdimension. There's no sugarcoating that, right? If your GPA is a lot higher than the school's average GPA, well, you are outstanding for that subdimension. If you went to a university with a great reputation, your academic profile in totality would probably be solid. This has taken years to kind of come up with this 15-point scale, which we use at touchmba.com, that evaluates you along these 3 dimensions. And I've spelled out exactly how we do it, right? And I believe, after seeing so many candidates, that you need to be outstanding on all 3 dimensions, academic, career, and ambassadorial, to get into the most competitive schools. To get into top 50 programs, you need to average a solid across all 3 dimensions. So for example, if you're weaker in the academic dimension, let's say you're average, you can make up for it by being strong or outstanding in another dimension, such as the career dimension. This works for the vast majority of business schools. So when admissions officers say, we evaluate you holistically, right? This is what they're doing. And yes, I used to say that when I was an MBA Admissions Director, and I know that's really frustrating to listen to as an applicant, and that's why we made Touch MBA, to get underneath this whole holistic evaluation. And this is the best way I can explain it in simple terms. Now, this is not a science right? If it was, there wouldn't be a need for admissions officers. But at least this 15-point rubric across these 3 dimensions will give you a clear idea of how those people who are reading your applications are evaluating you. Are you ready for it? Holistically. Okay, so again, you can get this at touchmba.com. We score your competitiveness on a 15-point scale across 3 dimensions at Touch MBA and let you know whether your target schools are stretches, targets, or safeties. We also put you in touch with top schools for feedback before you apply to save you time. I mean, this is such a huge advantage. All right, yes, I am plugging our service, but I believe rightfully so. We work with the top MBA programs in Canada, Australia, Singapore, Hong Kong, Spain, Netherlands, UK, a lot of the international business schools who are willing to meet you before you apply, who are willing to consult with you one-to-one for pre-assessments. So this could save you a ton of time for those of you who are considering top-ranked business schools outside the US. Do check out this free service at touchmba.com. Otherwise, let's say you don't want to use Touch MBA, I'd encourage you to get your profile reviewed by admissions consultants, colleagues, and friends who are familiar with the MBA application process, right? Because as smart as you are, guys, and trust me, like I'm blown away by the caliber of people that use our service, it's hard to have an objective view of your candidacy. It's hard to see. That's why it's so useful to get an outside opinion or a number of outside opinions on how you can strengthen your profile. All right, the final step, step 4, interact to find fit. This is so important. So by now, you found 5 to 10 MBA programs that fit your goals and that you're competitive at. Now, which ones get you giddy with excitement? There's only one way to determine this. Contact with the actual people and place. All right, I got to say this one more time. There's only one way to determine this. Contact with the actual people and place, the living parts of the school. Okay, guys? Not the website, not the brochures, not the rankings. The real people. Okay, that's really what these top business schools are. They are clubs of elite, dynamic, and mostly outstanding people. And you want to find the club where you fit in, where your values match, and where you can say, I want to associate with these people for the rest of my life, because that MBA will be on your resume and that network will be a part of your life forever. Choose wisely. All right, as they say in Indiana Jones. So through your reflection, you have authentic reasons for applying to each school. You have career direction, and you have well-researched questions that signal true interest. This is when you should speak with 2 to 3 students from each target program. Even better if you can connect with students with similar must-haves as yourself and career goals. When they hear your story, these students will share their experience and introduce you to people and parts of the school you never knew about. Then meet admissions and career staff. They know you've done the legwork already and that you're qualified. This is not a waste of their time. In fact, hopefully all involved want you as part of the family. Visit campuses if you can. I know this isn't possible for all of you, but for those of you who are lucky enough to be able to travel pretty freely to these schools, you have to visit the campus, guys, all right? This is your chance to sample the MBA experience, the feel of the place you'll be studying before making the jump. Some schools will just feel right. Keep notes of your conversations and impressions and flashes of insight, all right? These will make your application even better, right? These flashes of insight that you get when you're talking with students, when you're visiting the school. This is perfect fodder for your essays, for your interviews, right? So keep notes. Soon your intuition will scream which 3 to 6 MBA programs and communities fit you best. All right, guys, so that's the 4-step process, and let me summarize it. In summary, here's the short version. Question 1, where do you want to go? Can an MBA get you there? Again, A plus B equals C. Is the MBA the right bridge to get you from A to C? Second question, what are the critical few traits your MBA program must have? What are your must-haves? Let me share some examples. The school I'm going to must be a feeder program to McKinsey, Bain, and BCG. I want to increase representation of minorities in the entertainment industry. Where's the best place to go for that? If you're in the US, it's Los Angeles. One more. I want to go to a school that gives me a full scholarship. And that's an actual person we've had on the Touch MBA podcast, right? Who got a full scholarship to UBC Sauder in Canada, right? What are the critical must-haves for your MBA programs? All right. The third question, which MBA programs score highest for your criteria? Again, we're going to use that MBA decision matrix. I gave you the 13 most popular criteria we've seen at Touch MBA. You can come to our site, touchmba.com, and we'll give you free profile feedback if you'd like. But if not, figure out, again, your must-haves, weight them, and then with your school universe, see which ones score the highest. Fourth, what schools are within range? Again, those 3 dimensions of competitiveness: academic, career, ambassadorial, right? Are you outstanding? Are you weak? Where can you improve in those 3 dimensions? Finally, you're going to have those coffee chats. You're going to meet real students at these schools. You're going to visit the campus if you can. You're going to just try to meet as much of the club, right, of people that you're going to join and be a part of, for the rest of your life. Which schools feel right? If you take on these questions, you'll find your best fit business schools. Not only that, you can apply with confidence and with loads of powerful application material. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed this reading of this guide that I wrote more than 5 years ago, how to choose the right MBA programs for you. Follow these 4 steps to find the right business schools. If you enjoy the show, please give us a good review on whatever podcast platform you're listening to. Tell your friends about us so we can continue our mission to help you make the best MBA investment. All right, guys, take care, be safe, and we'll see you on the next Touch MBA podcast.
Thanks for listening to the Touch MBA podcast. Don't be shy. We have a mailing list. Go to touchmba.com and get yourself signed up. And we'll keep you posted with the best tips and insider interviews on how to get into your #1 school. You can also find us on Twitter and Facebook at Touch MBA. See you soon.